Hello all. Yes, it's been a little while. Hang on, I'm gonna adjust that just a skosh. I didn't do the last, what would have been the previous scheduled live stream because I was on vacation. It was good. It wasn't relaxing. It wasn't that kind of a vacation. But I'm back. I don't really have any planned topics today. We will talk about whatever the heck we talk about. And all that. So, getting drunk? No. Like, I'm more of a lightweight on hormones than I was back when I thought I was cis. But I'm not that much of a I'm not that cheap a date. I mean, not in terms of getting drunk anyway. It might be a cheap date in other ways. We'll leave that thought right where it is. So yeah, I put a video up in the break room earlier, the secondary channel. If people aren't already following that, and kind of explained how the ongoing strike and my intention to support it is going to impact the channel. Here's the short version. The short version is I am not going to be reviewing anything that is a recent release in theaters or an ongoing, currently airing TV show, which means I'm not going to do a review of the last episode of Secret Invasion. I'm not going to talk about Star Trek Strange New Worlds. I won't be talking about Good Omens 2. This doesn't mean that I won't be watching them, but I won't be talking about them. Because, and this isn't, I explained this in the video. This isn't necessarily what all content creators like me are going to do. Some are finding their own ways of balancing, trying to support the unions and not inadvertently act as some sort of promotion for the studios. My decision that I'm making is not to review anything that is current. I'll still review some older stuff. I'll still do classic Doctor Who. I will still, well, actually, ideally, this will give me the opportunity to try and catch up on commissioned reviews. Yeah, right. Maybe. That's a fun thought. Why don't I like Fire and Ice? I do like Fire and Ice. But it's really bad. Like, Fire and Ice is a so bad it's good movie for me. If people aren't familiar with that one, that is a Ralph Bakshi rotoscoped R-rated fantasy movie. And it's just so cheesy and so badly written, and it has the gayest villain to ever not be confirmed to be gay. It's not good, but damn is it fun. So it's not that I don't like Fire and Ice, it's just that I think it's bad. Like, not even like, oh, that's my trash, like I say with stuff like, I don't know, what have I said that about? Repo the Genetic Opera. Like, I genuinely think it's a bad movie. You get the right group of friends and some drinks, though. It's a good time. Glad to hear the flood was nowhere near your area. Yeah, no, I wasn't in danger with any of that, thankfully. Have you had any Patreon requests for Sarah Jane Adventure episodes? No, not commissioned requests anyways. I've kind of addressed this elsewhere before. I don't have any intention of covering Sarah Jane Adventures unless I get commissioned to do it, just because I know a lot of people like it, and I know the reason a lot of people want me to review it is because they want me to like it too. The thing is, I watched about the first season and a half and a couple of sporadic episodes after that, and it's not bad, but it's not for me. It is aimed at such a much younger demographic that I know I'm not the audience. And I'm not going to talk about it unless somebody pays me, because I don't like going in feeling like I'm just going to go like, it was okay, I guess, over stuff that a bunch of other people deeply love. And I don't like to do that. Pay me for my time if I'm going to do that. Shouldn't you be drinking Budweiser as a trans woman? I know you have that marked as a joke, but like, beer is already terrible, and you're going to, even by beer standards, and all beer is bad. Reminder, while I will try and keep up with the chat, the only thing that will guarantee interaction from me, that I answer your question or respond to your comment, is to do it as a super chat, which will also, as a bonus, get you a little heart from me. And just be appreciated. Hey, Vera, so I got back from hanging out with my grandparents, and my mom had fun. Like, I went to my first wax museum and a 5D rail shooter. Oh, that sounds like fun, Logan. I haven't really been to a proper wax museum where, like, the figures were the point. I've been to attractions where, like, wax figures were part of it. Like, I've been to the London Dungeon way back on my honeymoon. But I've never, like, been to a wax museum where the figures are the point. I'm sorry, I know you're not a trans woman. I knew it was a joke anyway, so don't worry about it. Fringe reviews. A lot of people, is Fringe having a renaissance or something? Is there a Fringe song? No, it doesn't fit. But, like, is that show having, like, a resurgence of interest lately or something? Because, like, multiple people brought up that show in the comments of the video that I put up in the break room. So what is going on there? Forgive me for being a bit out of the loop since you no longer use he. Do you still go by the name Nathaniel? I answer to Nathaniel. Nathaniel is not a dead name. It's not the one that I use most commonly anymore. I kind of consolidated everything under Vera just because, honestly, it's freaking easier. But, like, I'm not offended if you call me Nathaniel. Just don't refer to me by he, him pronouns, and don't refer to me as a man, and we're all good. Any thoughts on people getting mad at Barbara because communism or something? No. Like, the exact people that you thought were going to throw a fit over the Barbie movie are throwing a fit over the Barbie movie, and it's just, okay. Out of all the actors and actresses that have played a companion in New Who, which one do you think would make a good doctor? Jenna Coleman would have made a good doctor. I don't even like Clara as a companion, but she would have made a good doctor. That's like the one that's leaping most forefront of my mind. I'm also like, I'm trying to think back to classic now. Yeah, I'm just going to go with that. Jenna Coleman would have made a good doctor. Oh, the thing with the map, Parker, like, that was a separate thing. Like, China's weird and finicky about a lot of stuff, so, like, that was a whole other thing. I found all my sonic screwdrivers in a bag somewhere. Unfortunately, the river sonic screwdriver is very low on juice. Oh no. I'll take fun bad films over good film anytime. Interesting you put a question mark at the end of that, Jen. Very uncertain about it. Saw Barbie this weekend. A lot of people did. I didn't. Nor did I see Oppenheimer. I have too much crap going on in my life. I get paid next week. I'm interested in joining your Patreon. Which dollar tiers get your name shouted out in the credits? The shout-outs start at, I believe, 20. The actual shout-outs start. It's all laid out in the Patreon itself. The tier rewards will tell you where that starts. I believe it's 20 and up. Pretty sure. Yes. How much time was the trailer reaction taking you, considering you won't be doing them for the foreseeable? I mean, yeah, trailer reaction is the other thing I'm not going to be doing. That one I'm definitely not going to be doing. The thing is, like, not talking about current like, honestly, the break room stuff doesn't free up all that much of my schedule, because the break room it's low effort by design. That's why it's a secondary channel. So, you know, the trailer reactions especially are very low effort on my part. I barely have to even gather my thoughts to do those. But I mean, it's just going to be filled with other stuff. Oh, and some people like express concern about a hit to my finances. Like, you folks need to realize I do not make very much off the break room. The break room exists because there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about that if I were to try and put it all on the main channel, it would drag it down in the algorithm because a lot of it wouldn't perform well. That's why the break room exists. The break room, while it does make some money, it's not something I'm dependent on. Like, I make more on the spicy site than I do on the break room by a factor of like 4 or 5. So it's not that big of a hit to my finances. I'm still going to be putting stuff out there anyway. I'll be fine. Let's see. Stole those hearts from Jesse. I stole nothing. Tara Staller, thank you very much for the super chat. Hi, Vera. I tried to find a place to stream a repo, but couldn't find it. Do you know where I can find it? See, I own it on DVD. So, Opera streaming. It looks like, oh, it's on Amazon Prime. From the look of it. Checking that. Yeah, it's on Amazon. It's on Freevee, which you can view on Amazon Prime. So, like, it's gonna play with ads. But so it's like, it's on Tubi, it's on Pluto, it's on Vudu, it's on Amazon Prime Freevee. And all of these are going to run it with ads, but it's a number of places. It's out there. Weird question. Have you seen the what? The skibidi toilets. Yes, that is a very weird question. I do not understand it. Would you ever go more in depth on why you think it's bad? I genuinely liked it. It's a incredibly generic story with a very weird progression, odd divergences, wooden performances. Like, I'd have to rewatch it to go into more detail than that. It's just a generically bad movie. To me, to my taste. I've seen it crop up on, like, some people's, like, underappreciated gems list, and I'm like, I mean, you do you, but if I was going to pick a Ralph Bakshi, it wouldn't be that one. I'd go American Pop before I would go Fire and Ice, and I'd go Wizards before I'd go American Pop. So, you know. So I'm guessing you're not going to cover the new Superman animated series where Lois apparently looks like the main character from Owl House. No, I will not be covering that. At least not as it is airing. I may or may not cycle back around to do videos on some of these things once the strike breaks up, but depending on how long the strike lasts, who knows? Although I myself don't drink any alcohol, I feel actually obligated as a German to defend beer on principle. Hence, how dare you insult beer like that? See, I really appreciate living in Vermont because we are not, like, exclusive in our love of hard cider, but there's a lot of cideries around here. Like, there's a lot of breweries as well, but I don't need to go to a brewery. I can go to a cidery. I can go to Woodchuck. I can go to Stowe Cider. I can go to Citizen Cider. It's all so good. There's good mead around here too, actually. Recently, I was worried you'd be mad at me because I mod for someone who Jesse blocked on Twitter. I explained that to my emotional counselor and realized it was paranoia. Yes, that's definitely paranoia. Because this is literally the first time hearing about it. And like, having now heard about it, I don't care. Like, you need to realize, I can't speak for Jessie's specific mentality when it comes to who she does or doesn't block. I can tell you what my mentality is. My mentality is, I don't want that energy in my feed. I would say like maybe 1% of the people I've blocked on either X account. It's the stupidest damn thing. Only about 1% have ever done something that actually personally offended me directly, like came at me or tried to attack me. And the rest is just like, I don't want that energy in my feed. I just block them. And if you were to come back at me later and go, why'd you block this person? I go, I don't freaking know. Again, that's me. I can't speak for Jesse. I love your reaction when I told you that Wicked was going to be made into 2 parts. That's such a stupid idea. That's a terrible idea. God, I can't believe they're doing that. It's such a bad idea. Speaking of Repo, where does Devil's Carnival land on the bad spectrum? Fun, bad, bad, bad. I haven't seen that one, so I couldn't tell you. Question. Have you ever heard of the series Agent Elvis with Matthew McConaughey as Elvis and is executive produced by Elvis's wife, ex-wife Priscilla Presley, who also voices herself? I have indeed heard of it. I am aware it exists. I don't think I've even watched a trailer. Any new thoughts on David returning as 14th Doctor? I'm not going to have new thoughts until I see the specials and I have full context of what story they're doing with this. I'm not going to have new thoughts for a while. I know you're not the biggest fan of Torchwood. I'm not. But which 3 episodes stand out to you the most? Don't include Children of Earth because that's cheating. The season opener for Series 2 was really good. I really liked that one a lot. Countryside I really liked. That was where I felt like Series 1 was starting to turn it around. And I don't know. It's all bled together at this point. Screw it, Cyberwoman. Why not? Let's have some absurdity while we're at it. You didn't necessarily say which I thought were the 3 best. You said which 3 stand out the most. Cyberwoman does indeed stand out. So, there you go. Have I seen any other Greta Gerwig films? I have seen her version of Little Women, and I adore it. It is wonderful. Let's see. Elijah Anderson, thank you very much for the super chat. Sorry, like I don't. All right, I'm going to ask for forgiveness if this by coincidence happens to be a misgendering, but I cannot stop myself from just going, Mr. Anderson. Apologies. Yo, love your videos about the Hollywood strike. Morbidly curious about the fallout in the coming years. I'm looking to watch some of the DC Animated Universe movies. Any of you recommend? Much love from Boise. Yeah, it will. I will be. I'm very hopeful for the unions that are striking. Not related to Hollywood, but the UPS, the Teamsters just got basically the deal that they wanted, more or less, from UPS right before they were about to strike. So I'm really happy for that. I feel like, I mean, granted, they're very different lines of business, but I feel like what the actors and the writers are doing and how long they appear to be prepared to go for this. I think a lot of other companies, I think it is emboldening unions in general because they're seeing unions be strong, which we haven't really seen on a large scale in a while in this country. And I think that emboldens them and makes corporations more nervous, which is good. That there's a pub here that carries a lovely pear cider from Vermont. Yeah, a lot of the cideries have a pear variant somewhere in there. So yeah, the DCAU movies. So, okay. It depends on whether you are asking me about like the Timverse, the stuff that all kind of falls under Bruce Timm and was like connected to the Batman animated series, the completely standalone things, or the sort of integrated universe they tried to do that was largely based on the New 52, the one that started with Justice League War. Because if you're asking me for recommendations on that last one, I don't have a lot. I ended up ultimately bailing on that because a lot of it is really, really painfully bad. And a lot of it centers on Batman, and Damian should die. So, but in terms of stuff that came out that was in that universe, Batman Bad Blood wasn't too bad, largely because it was the one where characters actually told Damian to shut the hell up, so that helped. That one wasn't too bad. Justice League Dark was pretty good. Gods and Monsters was good, but that wasn't technically part of that continuity. God, I'm trying to think what else. Most of it was really bad. Like really bad. The Aquaman one was bad. The Justice League ones were bad. The Batman ones were really bad. It was bad. It was not good. Not good. X gonna give it to you. You want to know something I realized a while ago? In 15 years, Superman will be a century old, which is insane to me. It's not insane to me because, like, Superman is so old that, like, it just gets lumped into stuff that was new when my grandparents were young. So, like, coming up on 100 years, that kind of feels about right. What are my thoughts on famous movies of the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s being adapted into Broadway musicals? Uncreative. Boring. It's become the standard go-to, and I'm really done with it. And I know why they do it, because these things make a hell of a lot more money than completely original stuff. So it just becomes a safer investment on the part of producers and theaters to put that stuff up, and so they keep making it. I have no interest. Like, I don't think I really have much interest in any of it. I think I was, like, mildly, morbidly curious about Legally Blonde, the musical, back when that was new. But, like, when it started pouring in, and it was Heathers, and it was Mean Girls, and it's all this stuff, and I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. Have you seen the trailer of Adult Swim's Uzumaki? I would highly recommend the manga. Many have called him the Japanese Lovecraft. Yeah, I'm familiar with Junji Ito. I do not intend to read him unless somebody pays me to do it. Because what I've seen of his work is the kind of stuff that I don't want swimming in my head unless I'm being compensated for it, if that makes sense. And I don't mean I think it's bad. I mean, so, like, as a comparison, and also, you know, Lovecraft was a massive racist and actually not that good a writer. So I'm not even sure it's a flattering comparison. He does dabble in the sort of cosmic end of horror. I'll give you that much. But anyways, while this has nothing to do with the specific type of horror that Uzumaki does. I think the scariest movie ever made is the 1970s version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And I love it to death. And I also rarely, and I mean rarely, watch it because I can't watch it and have a good night's sleep afterwards. If I watch that movie, I will have a bad night's sleep and I will have unsettling dreams every time without fail. And Junji Ito's stuff, it gives me that same feeling in my gut, like this is just going to be a bad night. This is just going to be a bad night. So I don't really intend to dip too much into his stuff. That trailer, is there a new trailer? I know there was one a while ago, but then like it was being delayed. I don't know what happened. Do I like Jack Daniels? Not especially. Something random on my mind lately. Why is Nightmare on Elm Street 2 widely considered a positive queer movie? Well, it's basically considered a positive queer movie because it's considered a queer movie at all. You need to remember that thing was made in the 80s. Deliberately making a queer movie that wasn't directly about how horrible it is to be queer, that's a big deal. So while it's not a positive queer movie by most standards we would have now in terms of positive depictions, celebration, pride, etc., 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 it is a undeniably queer flavored movie where the queerness itself is never condemned. So that's why, because you have to realize that was the bar in the frickin' 80s. Anyone remember when they did that Under the Red Hood follow-up that was essentially Bandersnatch? No, I don't know what you're talking about. Under the Red Hood wasn't very good either. And that one I get into fights with people over because they're like, oh, the animated version of that's so good. I'm like, it's not, though. It's not terrible, but it's not that good. Let's see. Oh, hey, Megan. Good to see you. You snuck in. Hope you're doing well. Let's see. Where are we? Did you see the Lovecraft Country series they tried to push? I did. I covered it on the break room when it was airing. It was a very uneven series. When it was good, it was great. And sometimes it was great. But it wasn't always great. It wasn't even great the majority of the time. At least not to my taste. I got some bitter arguments with me for my position on that. And I don't really feel like revisiting and delving into that. But that series did not fully click with me, with the exception of a couple of basically 3 episodes. There's 3 episodes that I think are absolutely fantastic, and the rest of it I have varying issues with or just didn't land right with me. Do I like slasher movies? Nope. No, I do not. You think it feels weird in modern adaptations of superheroes that it's set in a world where superheroes don't already exist? It's so different from our world at this point. I think. So do you mean set in a world where superheroes don't exist in fiction? I mean, no, I don't think it's that weird. It's kind of like how in most zombie movies, despite the fact that in reality everyone knows what a zombie is, the reaction to zombies in most zombie movies is, what's going on? I don't understand. And nobody has a point of reference for like, don't you know what a zombie movie is? Oh, hey, Jesse. Good to see ya. Thoughts on Godzilla in general? King. That's it. That's the thought. That's what you're getting. Jesse, you are pulling attention away from me. How dare you? How dare you? I'm more than a little tired of superheroes at this point. I'm not tired of superheroes. I am kind of over the interconnected universe. Like, I feel like the benefit of the interconnected universe that is the MCU has given the best it's going to give, and I kind of want things to be treated mostly independent at this point. Do you like DC's Robin, aka Damian? Do you dislike DC's Robin, aka Damian Wayne, because Stephanie Brown did a better job as Batman's partner? No, I dislike Damian Wayne because he's a little shit. I don't. It's not a comparison. I don't like him on his own merits. He's a turd. He's a terrible. Now, again, bear in mind, I know him mostly from the animated films in which he appeared, not so much his comic book stuff. I heard that under certain writers he was good, or that he's gotten better since, blah, 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 blah. But from what I've seen of Damian, I find him insufferable. He is absolutely awful, and I hope he dies. And that has nothing to do with Stephanie Brown. Would you rather be tied to a chair, gagged, and forced to watch The Shining or Moulin Rouge? Well, okay, first of all, drop the movies. Don't threaten me with a good time. I don't know. Which one's shorter? By the way, I got a recording of that short play. I wrote and uploaded it now. Oh, that's cool. Very nice. Sorry, I'm in between meetings. Yeah, isn't that your life now? The Jesse Gender life story, in between meetings. What idea have you always wanted Doctor Who to explore but they never did? I really want them to do a lot more with the concept of a Dalek civil war. It was something that was basically going on in the background across the latter half of the classic era. And the modern era has only ever touched on it in the tiniest ways, like with like little hints of stuff with the new paradigm Daleks or the reconnaissance Daleks created in Revolution of the Daleks and the clones of that. Like, they'll touch on it briefly. Like, I really want the show to properly delve into that. I'm sure some people would say, like, Big Finish has done it. I'm sure they have. Big Finish has touched all of it. Am I aware of the backstory of Godzilla's creation? What, you mean the fact that he was inspired by the destruction of the nuclear bomb and basically was created because the Japanese weren't allowed to make actual cinema about the literal frickin' bomb? Yeah, I know that. Do you have a favorite Mission Impossible film? I think Philip Seymour Hoffman might make MI3 my favorite just by default. He is easily the best villain that the Mission Impossible franchise ever had, and he boosts that one up a lot. No, the one I like best is the fifth one, Rogue Nation. I like Rogue Nation a lot. Have I ever seen live action Inspector Gadget films? I saw the first one. I was working at a movie theater when that was out. I don't want to talk about it. Don't you get annoyed when Doctor Who reheating idea more and more and shying from new, more innovative concepts? It depends on the nature of it. Like, I don't have a problem with the show as old as Doctor Who revisiting certain ideas, as long as it has a self-awareness. As long as it's not treating reheated ideas like they're new and exciting, like, oh, aren't we clever? Like, no, you're doing the thing again. But, like, sometimes the show seems very aware that it's just doing the thing again. And I can be okay with that as long as it doesn't become all that it does. And I don't think it is. Moulin Rouge, 2 hours, 7 minutes. Shining is 2 hours, 26 minutes. Okay, Moulin Rouge by default. Who do you prefer in terms of Spider-Man's kids? Annie Mae Parker or Mayday Parker? The thing is, I have not read the comics in which either of those characters appear. Excuse me. So I cannot give you an answer on that. Is Mission Impossible 2 the one for the Mission Impossible hipsters? I think Mission Impossible 2, anyone who says that's their favorite, they're just a contrarian. Or like it's just not a franchise they were ever going to like, and they like the one that is least like literally every other entry in it. I don't even think that's a hipster thing. That's literally just so you're just not the audience for this. So you liked the one that didn't fit. For all the crap that's going on in BreadTube and such, a little sanity and edutainment is nice to have right now. I don't even want to know what that's in a reference to, Dharma. Like, I mean that sincerely. Don't tell me. I really don't want to know. How are you going with Strange New Worlds? Do you feel the season 2 has been a step up or down from the first one? Well, Yum Yum Podcast, I am not doing review content while the strike is going on for currently airing products, so I shall politely refrain from answering that. What I will say, because I already did a review on this, the second episode of the second season is the best episode of the show thus far. I don't have a fully formed opinion on the season as a whole, and if I did, I wouldn't say at this point. What's a film you think was ahead of its time? That's a good question, but it's the kind of question I can't come up with an answer off the top of my head. So I'm going to have to pass. And it's a shame, because that's a legitimately good question. If Doctor Who ever rebooted things completely, it shouldn't. Would you say it would ruin things, or would fans react to it similarly to the newer generation, like with the 9th Doctor came in? No, it would absolutely ruin it. Never reboot Doctor Who. I did a whole video on that. Never, ever, 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 ever. Never reboot Doctor Who. Don't you dare. Don't you frickin' dare. I thought you hated The Shining. You changed your mind? No. No, I didn't. No. I'm not sure what I said that gave you that impression that I changed my mind. That's a terrible movie. It sucks. And I'm just going to say it now because the question is going to come up again. No, it's not because I think it was a bad adaptation of the book. I've never read the book. I just think the movie sucks on its own merits. Much like I think Damian Wayne sucks on his own merits. I don't need it to be in comparison to another thing that's good to think that thing sucks. Although that does sometimes happen. Sometimes I wonder, why do some of the worst people make some of the best stuff? You know, the people who I'm talking about. Because talent has no correlation to humanity. I mean, it doesn't. And I don't mean in that all the best stuff is made by assholes. It's not. There is good people making good stuff. But like, you take a quality piece of work and how good the person was who made it has no bearing on it whatsoever. I think the quality of the Mission Impossible films depends on the length of Tom Cruise's hair. I've seen that theory. Do I like the song Barbie Girl? Of course I don't. Nobody likes it. It's annoying as hell. I do mean that sincerely. Like, there is an ironic enjoyment of it, but I was there when it was quote unquote popular. I don't know anyone who enjoyed it sincerely. Our philosophy is, thank you kindly. The greatest fear of anti-woke channels is that RTD2 will be good. They're not afraid of that. They'll just claim it's bad. That's like, if we're talking Doctor Who specifically, they arguably benefited from the Chibnall era not being especially well written. And they could blame that on wokeness. But like, it's not like they're suddenly gonna change their tune if everybody loves what Russell T Davies is doing. They won't. They'll still claim it's bad. They'll still zero in. Actually, you know what'll happen is they will stop talking about the quality of it and they'll just focus in on the woke stuff. So talking about Chibnall, they harped on, it's bad because it's woke. When we get to RTD2, assuming that it's good, it might be, it might not be, we don't know. But let's assume for the moment that it is. If that is good, what they will do is simply not even talk about is it good, is it bad. They'll just zero in on, well, this is woke, and they're pushing this, and that's bad. Like, the thing that they're pushing is bad. Okay, but do you think the show's any good? Well, but woke. Like, they'll just shift focus. I don't think they're afraid at all. I think they have a playbook. They're going to stick to it. I had so much fun last time I watched Mission Impossible 2. I totally wouldn't call it my favorite, but I'd probably say it's not the worst. My controversial Mission Impossible opinion is that I don't like Fallout. I don't really like Fallout either. I think Fallout's probably my second least favorite. No, well, see, here's my controversial opinion. I don't think Ghost Protocol is very good. I think that, here's the thing. I think the really good ones, it's been the inverse of the Star Trek thing. It's been the odd numbered ones for me. I like the first one. I like the third one. I like the fifth one. I haven't seen the seventh one. But I up until this point, I've enjoyed the odd number ones. The even ones haven't really done it for me. I didn't like 2. I think it's just kind of a mess. I don't think Ghost Protocol is very good. Everyone else loves it. I'm like, it's not great. And Fallout didn't do a lot for me. The Dalek in Dalek, do you think it was a sympathetic character? Mildly. About as sympathetic as you should ever make a Dalek. Favorite YouTube series? I mean, probably 0 punctuation. Still, that's just comfort food for me. Do you have a favorite character that's just a down-to-earth schmuck? Arthur Dent. That would be me there. I love it unironically. Love you for that, Carolyn. Questions. Have you seen the Super Sons animated movie? Nope. So if you don't like The Shining, I gather you have never watched Doctor Sleep, the sequel. I actually have been meaning to. I've heard really good stuff about it, and I'm curious to watch it, but no, I have never gotten around to that. R2D2 or R2D2, yes. Ms. Wicked Wolf, yes, we're aware of the similarity. Ollie, what's-his-face is already screaming about the wokeness. Will people stop responding to him? Like, ignore him. Here's the thing. Some of these people should not be ignored and should be responded to because their ideas are legitimately dangerous. That is unfortunately where people like Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro fall into. Their ideas are legitimately dangerous, and they shouldn't be ignored, and they should be pushed back, and they should be discussed, debunked, and responded to. Ollie London, is it? Like, I'm going to swear, so apologies. Fucking ignore him! I mean it. I really mean it. Don't talk about him. Don't reply to him. Don't retweet him. Don't snapshot and comment. Just ignore him. Hey. Going back to your critical lens video, do you feel that you're getting more comments explaining the plot now that you're femme presenting? That's really hard for me to judge because the channel also got bigger after I became femme presenting. So, I mean, by raw number, maybe, but I'm not going to draw a correlation there because my audience was also getting bigger at the same time as I started presenting feminine at all, and as I continued to do it more and more. So, I don't think those are connected in terms of causation. There might be a correlation, but I think that has more to do with time at which my channel got bigger. Putting aside the recasting, the fact that a forthcoming Big Finish release has an image of Harry Sullivan on the cover, aged up to look older than Ian Mater ever got to, is icky. Yeah, I really am not a huge fan. And like, to be fair, I haven't listened to them. Like, maybe they're really good. But I just conceptually, I don't like bringing in the sound-alikes on Big Finish releases. I've even told their managing director, Jason Hay Gallery, I literally told him that to his face. I don't think they're like necessarily wrong to do it, but like it just doesn't sit right with me personally. I don't love it. 9 months sub, 0 regret, infinite joy. Thank you, Dharma. I appreciate that. Supreme Omega! Question on the Bronze Age, 1970 to 1986. Do you feel that is when mainstream superheroes comics in the big two peaked? That's when deaths and lasting changes still mattered. Probably. Yeah, probably. Because that was, when they were... DC especially was doing some really interesting things with character deaths, and they had legacy characters, and the bringing back of iconic versions of characters and dethroning, removing, or sometimes even erasing from canon legacy characters, to me will go down as the greatest creative mistake DC ever made. So yeah, actually I do think that's probably a fair assessment. Now that's not necessarily going to mean that I think all that stuff is great, or I'm going to find my favorite stuff in that era. But like collectively, in terms of where the storytelling was going and what it was doing for the industry as a whole when talking about the big two being Marvel and DC, yeah, that was probably when they were creatively at their strongest and most proper and most promising. What's my go-to comfort food? Whatever I can make in 10 minutes or less. Do I like Coco or Encanto more? I don't know, because I only saw Coco the one time. I'm inclined to say Encanto, but as I said, to be fair, I haven't rewatched Coco. Who's Ollie? That is the correct question, and you do not need an answer. Discord, yes. Okay. So I need to pop onto the Discord really quick. Reminder, Council of Geeks Discord is a Patreon exclusive perk, and that is another place where you can ask me questions that I will absolutely answer. So let me see what I've got there. Have you seen the new trailer for Wonka? I did. And I kind of shrugged. If you have seen the new trailer for Wonka, based on what you've seen of his performance, what do you think about Timothée Chalamet's Wonka? Well, it seems very clear he's doing a younger version of, oh my God, Gene Wilder. Gene Wilder's Wonka, which, like, cool. Okay. It was never published, but there was almost a Star Wars Extended Universe novel that explained why there are humans in another galaxy a long time ago. Basically, it was going to be a group of humans fleeing Earth because a dystopian regime that suppressed emotion and individuality was taking over the planet, implied to be the regime from THX 1138. But their ship hit some kind of temporal anomaly, like you do, and get transported to another galaxy 2 billion years in the past. Do you think there's any real need to explain the presence of humans in Star Wars? We all know it's just because it's a space fairy tale, so we need the protagonist to be human or close to human. No, I don't think there's any need. But like, if you're going to explain it, doing it in a side thing like a novel or a comic, because like there are some fans who don't think like I do and don't approach media like I do, who do want to know that there is an answer. Like, I don't have a problem with an answer existing. I sure as hell don't care, and I don't think it's necessary. But I also understand that my perspective and the way that I approach media is not the only one out there, and it's not the only one that's valid. Like, the only part of that I think is clever is the connection to THX 1138. Other than that, I'm like, this is deeply unnecessary. To what extent, if at all, can you enjoy stories where the characters are interesting but not really in any way moral? I notice that's an issue you have with House of the Dragon, and I feel that's a lot of classic literature you can't enjoy if it's hand up for you. Like, a lot of Shakespeare plays have no real good guys. That's not really true. A lot of Shakespeare plays, the protagonist is not a hero, but there's still somebody there to relate to. Like, you can take something like Hamlet, because Hamlet himself is a shit. He is not a good person at all, and he's the hero of the story. Or you can take something like Julius Caesar, where there is a reason that these people are going to kill him, and it's not a completely invalid one. So he's not a great person, they're not great people. But the thing is, a lot of it has to do with whether or not I think it has less to do with whether or not they're moral as it does, at least for me, whether or not the only thing motivating everybody is self-interest. Because when everybody is motivated by nothing other than their own self-interest, with nobody having any other priorities, any other moral guidelines, anything else that they care about, I'm bored. And it just makes everything very flat. And I won't say House of the Dragon totally fell into that, but it came close at a few points. And it helps me to know, especially with something like House of the Dragon, like, you're kind of extrapolating out my specific issues with House of the Dragon and assuming a grander thing, which I don't think tracks. The thing with House of the Dragon is, you're trying to get me to care about who ends up on the throne, and I don't like any of these people, and most of the world that you're showing me isn't a world worth saving. So they're fighting over a world I don't think seems that interesting, and I'm not invested in whether or not any of them succeed because they don't seem like decent people. So that has more to do with the culmination of very specific, these people are all deeply selfish. There isn't a lot of nuance going on here. The world itself doesn't seem like it's worth saving, or I should really care who controls it. It's a combination of all those things. It was strong enough written in the characterization and the performances that I did get through it, and assuming the strike's not still going on, I will come back to it. But that one had specific problems. When Anna Kasparian got called out by all her progressive friends, oh God, I might decline to answer this depending on where this question is going. And colleagues initially tried to patiently explain to her why what she was saying was problematic. They only started telling her to go to hell when she rebuked them multiple times. Why does that part always get memory hold when people tell the story of how they got canceled? Because it makes them the victim. Why would you talk about how people tried to have a reasonable conversation with you and you refused to listen? That doesn't fit the narrative you want to exist. Do you think Anna's just lying, or do you think her recollection of events genuinely is, I said one thing and everyone instantly turned on me? I have no idea what she does or doesn't think. I have no idea what she does or doesn't remember. What I think is that human beings, for a lot of people, will defensively remember things in a way that favors them most, and not even consciously in most points. If you get in your own perspective enough. So let me step out of politics for a moment and give you an example. I feel like it is not a super uncommon thing for two people who are in a relationship, and one of them has had something that is bothering them. It may or may not be something about the other person. It may not even have anything to do with the relationship. But there is something in their life that is bothering them, and they don't want to burden their partner with it. And so they hold on to it, and it just makes them irritable until it gets to a point where they can't handle it anymore, and they blow up. Or if it is something relating to the relationship, they suddenly go, hey, we need to talk about what's going on in our relationship. And from the perspective of the other person, their partner just blew up at them out of nowhere. But from the perspective of the person who just got upset, they've been sitting with this so long that from their perspective, they can't take it anymore. Now, either perspective is completely within their own heads. So that's the natural thing. The perspective you have, and if you're the one who has gotten angry, the fact that the other person doesn't understand can make it even more frustrating for you. And if you're the one whose partner just got really angry, you can find yourself just deeply confused, and you can find yourself getting upset because they won't explain to you what the hell is even going on. So people very naturally frame things in a way that conforms to their perspective, and their perspective is insular most of the time. And that's just going to result in, you have to go out of your way to consider other people's perspective. It's work to consider other people's perspective. And when you don't do it, this is what happens. Favorite summertime beverage, adult or otherwise? What is better, skirts or shorts? Skirts. Which is better, Bloodstained or Rogue Legacy 2 as a Metroidvania? As a Metroidvania, Bloodstained is better. In terms of addictiveness, Rogue Legacy 2 has it beat. But because Rogue Legacy 2 is procedurally generated, it doesn't have the carefully orchestrated layout of a proper Metroidvania. It's Metroidvania-esque, but procedural generation means it won't be as meticulously put together as something like Bloodstained. What is your stance on wearing felt hats during summer? I wear one and get constant looks. People wondering how I can stand the heat, but a good felt cowboy hat is actually quite cool and even deflects a lot of the sun from you. I don't have a stance because I have literally never considered the implications of a felt hat, particularly a felt cowboy hat, in the summer. You caught me off guard with that one. With scientists working on nuclear-powered rockets, which will in effect cut down travel to Mars from months to weeks, if we manage to have a functional Martian colony within the next 20 years, would you go? No. No. I wouldn't go for the same reason I wouldn't go on a trip to the bottom of the ocean, and I wouldn't move to the desert. Like, power to anyone who's going to do that? No. No. With Marvel debuting a new Punisher, I freaking forgot they're doing that. Black Ops soldier named Joe Garrison, with the skull design being very downplayed, though still present. Do you think the Punisher is still a relevant character in and of itself? Personally, I think the Punisher is always going to be relevant as long as there are gaping holes in the criminal justice system, with the stories allowing for some form of catharsis. There are good Punisher stories out there. By and large, the Punisher for me is at his most digestible when he is treated with a certain degree of camp and a certain degree of acknowledgement that he is not okay. I look at the Punisher stuff that was being made in the late 80s into the 90s, and frankly, it makes me sick. I have a very low tolerance at this point for vigilante characters like him, where the assumption is, well, these people slipped through the holes of the criminal justice system, and I'm gonna clean it up. Like, the more that I have learned about the justice system and learned who actually slips through the cracks, the fact that people who actually slip through are bankers and executives and CEOs whose decisions leave millions of people homeless, starving, dead, and they get paid a fine that is a fraction of the money they earned by the decisions that they made. And even when they break the law, they never go to jail. Give me a story where the Punisher starts hunting down the 1%, and maybe I'll start paying attention to them. Start paying attention to him again. Until then, honestly, retire the character. Retire the character. The police are militarized enough, so the idea that we need a gun-toting lunatic on the street because the police aren't tough enough, fuck off. No. The visceral thrill that can come with it when it's done well. And like I said, when the Punisher is done well is with a certain degree of camp and of unrealistic situations. I think it's why he tends to work very well when you put him against the mob, because it's already a fantasized version of organized crime. Like, the organized crime has never actually been like this. So throwing him at that, I'm okay with. That's why I'm okay with stories like Welcome Back, Frank. That's why I like Punisher Warzone, because it's him taking on a fantasy version of a problem, and it's a problem that, to whatever degree the mafia is even still a going concern, they're not the ones that are being ground down by the police. But when I think back to the early 90s, when Frank was driving around in a van, gunning down anyone complicit in gang violence, no, we don't need that. We didn't need it then, and we sure as hell don't need it now. So there's that opinion for you. I'm going to try and catch up on the chat real quick, and then I'm going to wrap it up. Personally more interested in the Sony Marvel movies like Venom, aka Sony's not Spider-Man, because at least those movies try different things. Although whether they stick the landing, yeah, a lot of them don't. But I have had fun with the Venom movies in particular. I won't lie. With the success of the Mario Brothers movie and Barbie and the smaller year-end films overall, is there a danger Hollywood will go further down the established properties only trend after the strikes? The major studios might. Doesn't mean all of the industry will. Supreme Omega. Thank you for the super chat. On deaths, do you feel Jean should have stayed dead? I know she's the Phoenix, but I feel reviving her cheapened the emotional power of Dark Phoenix Saga. Honestly, I don't know, because I haven't read the actual story where she came back. I've only kind of read descriptions about it, so I can't really have an opinion on that. Conceptually, I don't have a problem with it, even though in general I don't like bringing back characters, because again, you know, yeah, Phoenix. I still get what you say, but like, I guess I don't have that strong an opinion. Thoughts on the Flash movie? Have not seen it. Don't plan to. Technically, Wilson Fisk is the 1%. The Kingpin himself is kind of an odd thing to deal with. He's still coded as a gangster more than a actual 1%er. Another great live stream from another YouTuber I follow just started. Guess I'm off and away. See you next time. Thanks for stopping in, Kura. Well, it won't exactly be Punisher, and more like the Crow meets Zorro. Maybe I'll think of something. Okay. I really like the TikTok video where the kid thought you were Wonder Woman. Yeah, that was sweet. We cool. I'm not in a good place right now. I've been experiencing really bad anxiety lately. We cool. 255 AD. I'm not upset. You have not offended me. It's all good. It's okay. I promise. Do you think Jodie Whittaker should have gotten another season, but without Chris Chibnall to prove she was shortchanged by the writing? I mean, I would have liked to have seen that, but if she was done with the part, she wasn't obligated to keep doing it. So, you know. Supreme Omega. I'm going to wrap this up soon. Thoughts on Ennis? Are your criticisms due to his dislike of the superhero genre? What are the pros and cons of his writing, in your opinion? The short version of my issues with Garth Ennis is he is not untalented, but he's about 70% as clever as he thinks he is, and that gap catches up with him anytime I read him for an extended time. I think the best work he's done was on The Punisher. Not all of his Punisher work. I like Welcome Back Frank, and I like Punisher Born, and I think those are very well done. I liked the first 2 volumes, maybe, of Preacher, but then that 30% gap really started to eat away at my enjoyment. He's not quite as bad as Mark Millar as far as the sort of edgelordiness, but it's there. So, when he is properly focused, when he is not going off on a edgelord tangent or disappearing up his own ass, he is very good at writing very bad people. But he just generally doesn't click well for me. My bottom surgery days have been getting totally screwed up by my state legislature. Oh, God, Louise, I'm so sorry. Thankfully, I'm getting closer every day and hopefully past anything that would cancel again. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I am very grateful that I don't have dysphoria in a way that I feel it necessary to get bottom surgery at this point in my life. But I always hope for the best for anyone who is going to do that. And I hope for it to go smoothly and for a good outcome, and that you're happy with the results. Thank you for the reminder, Carowin. So, yes, stuff coming up. Tomorrow, the Take 2 Doctor Who review on Legend of the Sea Devils will be up. Saturday, if things go as planned, there might be a shift. We'll see. Saturday is currently planned to be a video about, about Diablo, the Diablo video game franchise. talking about why it used to be great. That is what is planned for Saturday. And if that plan doesn't change, then the build up on Twitch will be playing more of Diablo 3 on Wednesday and Friday. And I think that's everything coming up. You know, links in the description for most of the other stuff that I do. Not everything is linked there. You can go to X and see my, click the link in my bio there to get a more complete list. Best line the teacher has on the wall. If you don't teach your meat, you can't have any pudding. How can you have any pudding if you don't teach your meat? Of course, that one's not even in the movie. That one's only on the album. Still one that sticks in my head, though. Anyways, thank you very much for joining me. I hope that you have had fun. I did. Actually, you know what? I should finish this. There we go. Have a good one, folks. And please remember that you are beautiful, you are valid, and you are loved. McKelly!